Hello guys, welcome back to this tutorial series. In today's tutorial we are going to see how we can use Python functions. So the first thing we are going to consider is how to use Python and argument, then arbitrary arguments, keyword arguments, passing list into a function, and how to use the return value in function. So without wasting much of our time, let's get started. First of all, I'm going to write a simple function to greet someone good day, or a simple function to say hi to someone. So what we use to define the function is this def, then the name you want to use for your function. You will name a function, let's say greet, that's the name I want to use for this function, greet, and put my parentheses, open and close it, and this is how simple way we write function. Then we have to call each function, so I have to call this greet if I want the greet to work. So this is how we write function. This is how we write functions in Python. This is what we use to define the function in Python def, and then this is the name of the function greet, and then inside this our parentheses is where we pass our parameters. The parameters is just it can be any number of parameter, it can be one parameter. I will show you how to use parameter after we have write our first function, and then after that this is where we are going to call our function. Without calling a function, it will not execute, or the code within this section will not run. So each time we want a function to run in Python, we have to call the function, and then sometimes we can pass most times where we have a parameter, we have to pass the argument into this parenthesis where we are calling the parameter. I will show you how we do that after this. So now let me write my first function to print hello. So once I say print hello and then save, so this is my first Python. Let's check whether it's going to work. Let me run it. Python. Okay, when you are calling, indentation matters too in function. When you are calling a function, make sure that it is not indented. It's not in the same indentation with this, but it should be in the same indentation with where you defined the function. Once I go and run my code now, you see that we got our hello. So we have successfully run our first function in Python. So let's say for example now I want to pass a parameter name, so that each time we say hello, we are saying hello to somebody's name. So I can do it in this way. I can say name as a parameter, and then here I have to pass in the person's name as an argument. So I can say Emmanuel, but it has to be in string since it's not number. I can say Emmanuel. So I can now add this name. So I can now add name to hello. So when he's saying hello, he will not just be saying hello, but he's saying hello to somebody. So if you want to really, the simple way you can really understand function is that see it as a variable and a value. Arguments, the parameters contains the variable name, and then the arguments contain the value of the variable. So this is the simplest way I can explain the parameter and the argument for you. So what we pass into the function, we'll call them parameters, and what the function returns for us, we'll call them arguments. But in a simpler way, you can call this your variable, and then this the value. So that's how I call them to make it easier for beginners. Then I have to put a small space here to make my output a little bit neater. So we can see now we have hello Emmanuel. So whatever name I pass in here, Python will return the name each time I add the name to my code. So this is how we can use arguments in Python, and we cannot just use one argument. If I want to use many arguments, I can still use many arguments. I can say hello Emmanuel, and then I can say age, and then here I can pass the age to here. I can say 40. Let's say I want to say Emmanuel, you're 40 years old. Then I have to use comma because I'm not. Let me use comma here. And then comma space you are 40. Let me just make it like that. You are 40. Or let me just still add it. There should be a comma here, and then comma here. 40 is old, something like this. And then once I run the code now, see that it's going to say hello Emmanuel, you are 40 years old. So this is how we use function, and without calling this function here, the function will do exactly nothing. So what I used to do is when I define the function, I will call the function immediately where I want the function to be executed, so that it will be easier for me to not forget to call the function, something like that, or wherever the function is needed, I will just call it there to make the work easier for you. And since you are still learning, I believe you should practice that. So let's clear our screen. Then the next thing I'm going to teach you, I'm going to comment this out now. Then the next thing we are going to see is how to use arbitrary argument. An arbitrary argument is used in a case where you want your function to not just carry return one argument, but a lot of argument, and you want to use just one parameter. So I can say dev or family, or I can name it anything. I can say farm or something like that. Let me just call it family. I still want to use family as the name of my, so I will just call it farm. Then I'll return an arbitrary argument. What makes it arbitrary argument is that it's going to have asterisks before it. As you can see it in Python documentation, this is what we refer to as the arbitrary argument. It has to have this asterisk before the name of the parameter. So I'll put asterisk, and then, sorry, not there, I'll put the asterisk, then the name I want to use for the parameter, let's say family now. So I'm using family now, but in this case now, if I'm calling the function, remember we need a column here. Then if I'm calling the function, I have to call them farm. Then I'm going to pass in not just one parameter. Here I can pass in a lot of arguments into this place. I can make the function return a lot of arguments. So in my family I can say I have father, and then we have mother, and then sister, and we have brother. So can you see it now? We are having one parameter, and this parameter, the function is going to return a lot of, let's say 4 arguments for us each time we are referring to this family, or we refer to them based on their position. Let's say first person, second person, and you know Python start numbering from 0. This 0, 1, 2, 3. So we can access them based on their position. So now I want to say the head of the family is the father. So I can call the variable head, and then I can say the head of the family is the, then outside here I can concatenate it, and then I will just say family. Then I will check the position of the father. I think the father is number 1. Then I will access it like this, which is what the 0, the first one, the head of the family is our father. So let's see what Python is going to return for us in this case. And you see we have already called the function here and passing the right argument inside. So let's see how Python is going to return this for us. Up, up, up. Okay, we have to print our head, but it's not in form of string, but we have to print it because it's a variable. So save it, and then run it again, and then you see the head of the family is the father. So this is how we can use the arbitrary argument. If I want to say the head of the family is the mother, all I need to do is just change this to like 1, and then you see when I rerun my code, the head of the family will no longer be the father, but the head of the family is now the mother. So this is how we can use the arbitrary arguments. Then I believe we understand the arbitrary argument. So we are moving next to the next thing we are going to see in this tutorial, which is keyboard argument. And the easiest way for you to understand this arbitrary argument is, let me undo it. The easiest way for you to understand the arbitrary argument is, I want you to see this as a list. This is the variable name, and then this is the list, although it's in form of a tuple here, but just see it in that way. This is the variable name or the variable, and then this is the tuple or the list. Then let me comment it out, and let's see the keyboard argument. Then here we have our keyboard argument. Let's define the keyboard. The difference between the keyboard argument is that it's set in the argument. We set the keyboard argument to each variable. I think I should code it out so that it will be easier for me to explain it. Let's say def, def. Let me use it in this case. And then I can say first man, and then I say second man. So in this case we're using, okay, I can say first woman. So this way, so I've defined the function, but I have to call it so that it will be easier for me. Function is not compulsory that you must call your function exactly under way you define the function. You can call this function anywhere and the function will still run the code. But just since I'm still teaching you, I'm just calling it so that you get used to all your functions always. Then here I'm not just going to pass in the variable, but I'm going to set each parameter to a particular value, just like we have in dictionaries. So let's say when I call the head, I can say first man equal to let's say Adam, then comma second man, first woman equal to Eve. So you see what we have here now. So each time I'm going to refer them based on their keys, and not just like the way we used to refer them based on the indentation number, something not based on their positions anymore. So, but make sure when you're after you define your function, you're not supposed to start coding under it immediately. So you're supposed to indent it. You just tab to shift it, or you give 4 space before you start writing the code you want to be executed under the function. So let's say print. I'm going to print. Well, I'm going to use format string here. I'm going to print the first man on earth is Adam. Is instead of Adam, I'll just say first man here. So automatically Python will know who is the first man here. So once I just save it like this, I believe this is correct. The first man on earth is first man. So let's save it and run the code and see what we are going to have. So you can see the first man on earth is Adam. So if I want to see the first woman, I'll just change it to the first woman here. Woman. Let's save it. On the function, then you see the first woman. Oh sorry, our statement is wrong. But I just want to show you what it is. On earth is if. So you can just play around with it like that. So let's clear our screen. And then undo this. I prefer Control Y. Press man, let's do it like this. I don't want to be cleaning the code because I want to drop it for you on the GitHub, so in case you get lost, you can copy them and then try to like align yourself. Then another thing is how you can pass a list into a function. Aside from passing just a variable, you can also pass a list into a function. So let me show you. Let's say we have a function we define as the item, and then I can say items. So these are items variable. Then in this case now, I'm not just going to pass in one item. I'm not just going to pass in an item with a key item with a value. I'm going to pass it in this one. I'm going to pass a list into the item. So I'm going to say item, let's say school item, school items, school item. Then okay, first I have to call the name of the function item. Then inside the parentheses, I'm going to pass in the argument now, which is going to be a list school item. So this is what we are going to have. Then inside here, I'm going to drop in the list here item school item. Sorry. Then I'm going to equal it to a list. School item, we have shoes. We have bag. We have notepad or notes, and then pen. So something like this. This is the list here. We have passed the list into our argument. So whenever we return whenever this parameter item here has this argument school item, and this argument school item is a list here which is equal to the items we use in school. So all these things are inside the arguments here, which is automatically inside the items here. So let me show you how you can access them and how you can relate them. So I can say for item in items. I believe I've taught you for a loop. If you have not watched it, you can go back and watch it. For item in items, then what should happen? Print each item. It's a print item. So automatically you see we don't have anything as item here. So this item is just each particular. I've explained this in my for loop tutorial. Well, in my loops tutorial, but you can see we explain it. Each item inside these items, and you know these items is going to accept an argument which is school items. So each school items here will be printed out. So let's see if it's going to print out. I'm not just sure until we run our code. So you can see it, we have our show bag load pen. So this is how we can pass the list into a function. And another thing we have there is how to use the return in function. So we can write a function and then make it to return a particular value. Let's say I have a function like I will say good day, good morning, good afternoon, or whatever that is good. I can say dev, and then I'll say great. And in the parentheses, I'll just say good. Anything. I can just put anything in the parameter there. Let's put anything there. anything. You can make it anything that you want. I just want to like stop thinking about it. Then I'm going to call this parameter anywhere I want to use this parameter. So this is how I'm going to say it. Let's say let's say print good. Sorry, I have to use string good. Whatsoever that we are going to have in our anything, good anything. So we have automatically passed this parameter in here, and then we are going to return it wherever we are calling our argument. And then we have the name, and we have another new variable outside the function. So I can just put my return here. I'll say return this. So that's with that I must not call the function here. I can call the function anywhere. So I can just have another new variable which is equal to a name. That's a manual. Then it has to be Emmanuel. Then I can just say print under here. Just make it a little bit, give it a little bit difference between this. The different function is on this, different variable, and this one I can just still say print Emmanuel, or I can just set it to another new variable so that you can easily understand it. I can set it to another variable message, and I'm going to call it to let me call the function greet here now. You see, I'm calling the function inside this variable here, but this function is going to accept, since we have a parameter passed to it here called anything, we have to put in the argument, the expected argument here, which is anything. I can say is Emmanuel. The anything is not just anything, but it's somebody's name, which is Emmanuel, as the anything here. Good day, Emmanuel. Let me make this age so that it won't just be a tautology age. So you can see how you can relate them. Is it 35? Then I can say, am I going to miss the message now? Okay. Say good day, Emmanuel, and then concatenate it. Good day, Emmanuel. But let's just run this. Let's just run only this and see what's going to return. Since we have passed the variable here, let's just print the print and see what's going to return. Print message. Let's see what we are going to have there. I can see we have good Emmanuel. I should have put space here. So you say good Emmanuel. Let's say good day, not just good Emmanuel. Good day, Emmanuel. Or let's say good day, Emmanuel. You are so age old. Age. Emmanuel, age, that's 5 years old. So I believe you know what this is going to do. This is going to call our function first, which is good day anything. I know the anything has an argument here now, which is going to return as good day Emmanuel. You are age. You see we have a variable called age here, and then years old. So let's see if it's going to work. Fine. CLS. Go. Good day Emmanuel. Age, let's say unexpected operand plus. Okay. I think all this I should even use it inside the print so that to make this code a little bit cleaner. Good day, Emmanuel. Good day, Emmanuel. You are age. Yes, although you can still replace the plus with space bar, or you can use format string to like format it to make it a little bit clearer. I just want to test this. But this is a string. Okay. This is a string, so I should not try this. Why don't you just use my format string? I think that's the easiest way of writing variables in this Python now, and you are no longer that beginner much. Let me use for my string here. I can say message. good day, Emmanuel. You are age is old. Age is old. So let's see whether it's going to print. Let's see what we are going to return back. So let's say using plus with a number is going to, the mistake we did, this is a number, so using plus will be like we want to add them together, and you know you cannot, in Python we cannot add string and integer together. It's either they are both string or it's either they are both integer. That was the problem there. So you see we have good day, Emmanuel. You are at 5 years old. Where is this now? I think there should be in the same line, but we are having none there. So we have run our function, that's the essence. We can go and play around with this return. You see we have returned the function so that we can pass the argument somewhere else. But anytime you use return, that means you can pass the argument somewhere else, or wherever you call the function. So this is how we use functions in Python. So if you have any question about this or tutorial, you have to drop it in the comment box. Feel free to subscribe and like if you want to see more of this. Thank you for joining.